Oh, Luca. Luca. The new Luca.
What are you saying?
Am I not saying it right? Look.
The new case.
The new Luca enclosure.
From TRYX. Okay, seriously, how cool is this? I've never been inside an AIO before, on a curved AMOLED screen on a pump AIO. What? But man, TRYX is turning some heads with their unique products. So let's take a look, shall we?
And I do want to thank TRYX for sponsoring the showcase. I'm glad to be working with such a young brand who are risking a lot with this AIO in particular. I mean, like, just from a software point of view, you need good bones to run the screen properly. And to my surprise, it's all done via the USB 2 internal header and not rerouting some HDMI cable. And to the most part, the user experience is fine, but they've got a lot of work ahead to make this Panorama product truly one of a kind, and we'll do a full demo later so you can see what it's capable of. As for the Luca L70 enclosure, the most exciting thing for me personally, and probably for many others, is their premium design language mixed with a clever modular layout. And like in a sea of fish tanks, you gotta do something different, and here we have exactly that. A simplified PSU module that can be installed above or below the motherboard. The motherboard tray, by the way, is removable and it is BTF compatible. And with this full tower weighing over 16 kilos, many would appreciate this option to assemble remotely. Now, in some ways, this power supply chamber is kind of limiting since it can only support units up to 190 millimeters in length, but the front plastic bit is removable, so if you need more room for cables in a pinch, it's available, although not something I would recommend you do. And if you're not a fan of how the power supply is revealed from the side, a magnetic cover is available for a cleaner look among the accessories, which also includes this toolbox for stuff you might need along the way. Also cool is this aluminum handle that can be used to lift the case, and it totally works. It doesn't feel like it's about to fall on my toes. Plus there's some cool design ID on top of it all that normally gets overlooked. Strangely, in a good way, it's got some nostalgic feels with this main aluminum frame pieces and this massive side panel that is also aluminum and it's not bending anywhere. We've got lots of intentional lines and angles on the top panel that help to complement the exterior frame and the interior ventilation pattern. I love the front swivel window that is there to make access easier if you're adjusting the GPU support beam or working with any of your side-mounted cooling hardware. And at first glance, the interior is pretty basic for a full tower until you remove the PSU shroud, the motherboard tray, and the small cover, and realize you actually have two build options in here because of this rail system along the rear part of the frame. First one is the traditional layout with the PSU at the bottom. Boring, but it will support a 420 rad at the top and the side if you're into that. With the PSU at the top, now you can prioritize on GPU cooling with the bottom intake, and to me, this layout feels way more balanced visually, or if you're doing a vertical GPU, I would say this is a must. And so this is my airflow scenario, giving all the air for the GPU with 3 bottom fans. The bracket is removable for easy install and the PSU sits above the motherboard. So the entire right side is open for more fans for like additional intake for your CPU cooler or an AIO while keeping your power at the top. And that is exactly what I've settled on. Okay, so I gotta say, reconfiguring the power supply to the top or the bottom is more simple than I thought, just because you don't have to actually remove any of your hardware. As long as all the cables are disconnected, you can simply move the power supply in either top or the bottom. Same thing with the motherboard. What I have here is my AIO configuration with the power supply at the top, while still giving me all that airflow intake for the GPU without compromising on my 360 support on the side. And I actually really prefer this because it populates the otherwise empty side of the motherboard. As you know, I hate empty full towers, and this kind of solves it for me by populating something at the top, leaving lots of room at the bottom for the GPU. And even though I have just 3 fans at the bottom, the new 120mm fans from TRYX, it still kind of works. Also interesting, the frame itself has fan mounts built in at the top and the bottom, so you don't necessarily need to use the single removable fan bracket. You can just simply install things on the frame level directly. Also, I'm not a huge fan of PCIe locking mechanisms, but here it's done pretty well. It's discreet, it hides the screws, and it holds the GPU nicely. Also, I will say there's an airflow version of this case that includes two 200mm fans at the front, so you do lose out on this beautiful like corner glass visuals, but at least you have absolutely insane airflow delivery. I do love me 4 USB A's at the front. It does include 2 USB 3 internal headers, so make sure your motherboard has them, but this I/O is loaded. As for the driver software, it's called Canali, and before we get into that, can we just admire the sharpness and the actual picture quality of this display? It is absolutely beautiful. The blacks are actually inky black. Resolution is amazing. Here right now we have Batman on here, and you can actually see individual strings of that rain. It's awesome. Now when we get to the software side of things, so this is where they've done some good stuff, but they definitely need some more work. So for example, here, I do appreciate how everything is live. You don't have to click save to actually display something. So we have 8 different animation presets, and they've done a really decent job in making sure like they create this like 3D environment for all of the animations that are happening, especially because the exterior perimeter is blackened out. So when certain elements kind of move out of that space, like with the wheels, it makes it feel like it's 3D. And because of the actual angle of the pump, depending on where you're looking at the pump from, it does create this really unique appeal. So it's not just like this right now, catching that pump head, like the screen looks very 3D, not just on camera, but in real life as well. In real life, it actually looks more 3D than it does on camera. And we have 8 different presets. I wish that we could have configured like different color profiles. For example, right now, if I'm really into greens, I'll be able to, let's say, change text font or whatever that's playing in the background of the animation, but hopefully that will come later. When we go into the customization aspect of things, so this is where things kind of get really interesting because of how many options you can configure. So being able to select all types of different files that you upload, you can do up to 10 different custom things that are saved in the software. So for example, right now, like this is my intro, so I actually rendered this video in 2:1 MP4, and yeah, you can see it's playing back absolutely no problem. Super smooth video and without any stuttering, without any lag, and the resolution on here is actually, again, super impressive. But for example, if we choose a different wallpaper, some interesting things you can display. We have a bunch of system info. So let's say CPU temperature, GPU temperature, and maybe let's say date and time, and I click save, and that's going to be displayed on the right side over there. I can also configure to be displayed on the left side and change the color of the text to maybe black, so it's slightly more visible. And as I save it, let's see, it's gonna pop up on the right side. I can even put it in the middle. Not a huge fan of this look, especially with this type of wallpaper, but for example, if we go into the green and change that to white, I do like how the white text looks. So you can kind of play around and configure what looks good to you in this type of configuration. We also have a filter effect, so being able to add a little bit of something on top of your wallpaper so it looks like it's animated and not just a PNG photo. And we also have rain and smoke. The smoke one is pretty interesting. The only thing I don't like about these filter effects is that they don't loop nicely. Once they're done, they kind of go back to the initial, and you can notice that jump in the framing. Hopefully they fix that. When we go into screen splitting, here you can upload different one-to-one different photographs, and like see, you can click save. So you can display one wallpaper on one side and something else on the opposite side. And you can configure different system informations per side as well, which is really interesting. But I'm not sure how useful this is. I mean, like, it would be cool if you upload like a GIF on one side and something else on the other for really cool customization. But I think where this panoramic view really shines is with the animations that are pre-built. So hopefully we can see some more custom animations from the community and from TRYX themselves to really open up this like configuration option that sets this cooler apart from everything else. Some additional settings: you can adjust the brightness of the screen. You can configure the VRM fan, creates a little curve. I'm not sure why this is here though, because our actual fan header is connected to the motherboard and not to the air cooler. And then in the end, here we have mirror mode in case you're installing this in reverse. And finally, here we have screen recording, a very important tool, I would say, for this product, just because you can record your own animation, video, profile, whatever, so that you can loop it in the actual AIO, and let's say recording something with the wallpaper engine and being able to play that back would be actually pretty awesome. And this whole box is configurable. You can change the aspect ratio and the sizing of it, and even the resolution and the frame rate. So this is going to be very, very useful in the future. So definitely keep an eye on TRYX as a brand in the future. Excited to see what they have coming next. I'm Dmitry. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the next video.